What's up, everybody? Doug here, and we got another solo episode this week. And before we get into it, if you are looking for an episode that's kind of like it's not really a video essay. Like I'm a big fan of like video essays on YouTube and stuff like that. So I guess you would call this an audio essay. Uh, I've got two up now. Part one of the handheld gaming episode, where I talk about all the things that I love about handheld gaming and all the handhelds that I've had in the past. That episode is live now, as well as another episode where I take a deep dive into live service gaming and why I love it so much. But if you're looking for some video game reviews, you can go check out the episode before this one. I forget what I called that episode, but just whatever episodes before this one. And we review Shift 87, Reveal, and Primal Survivors. And if you're looking for a written version of those reviews, you can head on over to the Night Ride Home Podcast.wordpress.com. You can subscribe to us there, and it's really nice to see likes and that people are starting to subscribe to that, because for a long time I felt like I was just putting those reviews up there just so I could have something to send to game developers. So seeing you guys support it there has been really cool. Um, but yeah, so getting into the topic of the show, what I was originally going to do today was I was going to get into the part two of handheld gaming. And as I was putting together the notes for that episode, I got a Twitter notification, and it said that the Xbox 360 store was getting shut down today. And it got me thinking about all the good times I had with my Xbox 360 and how much that machine propelled not propelled me, not through height, just through the latter half of middle school, but I mean also all of high school and even some into college. I mean that was when the system was kind of getting phased out and turned into over to the Xbox One generation. But for like a year, I want to say, into college, I was still playing the Xbox 360. So I've decided that today's episode is going to be dedicated to the Xbox 360. And it really got me thinking about doing retroactive looks at some other retro games. And I know I did a lot of retro gaming reviews like at the start, but I kind of like got away from it because we got so busy with reviews. And I'm looking at revisiting some of those. So if you like that content, it's probably coming back. And yeah, so we're gonna go ahead and get into it. So I actually got my first Xbox 360. Uh, it would set like late seventh grade, early eighth. It would have had to have been late into seventh grade, which would have been 2008. Uh, no, I graduated eighth grade in 2008. So this would have been 2006, 2007. So I got it was the OG Xbox 360. And if you don't remember, I think it barely had any memory. It like maybe had 16 gigs on the internal hard drive, maybe. And it was just a this giant white console, not anywhere near as big as the PS5, but I remember this was the most modern piece of tech that I could have possibly laid my hands on at the time. And getting it home, I got two games with it, and those two games were the Elder Scrolls Oblivion and Gears of War One. And the way this episode is gonna go is I'm gonna tell stories about the Xbox 360. I'm gonna tell stories about all the games that I've played that really stuck with me throughout the years, and even some games that I wish I would have played but didn't get to at the time. Uh, so yeah, I mean, it was just starting with Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. What a mass! This is my first Elder Scrolls game because, like, well, not really the first one. This is the first one that I played because I had the original translucent green Halo Xbox, and I had played Morrowind on that, but it wasn't something that I was into. I think it was maybe at the time that I was already used to games being more modern than that one, because I was playing games that looked way better than Morrowind by the time I actually went out and got it. So getting into Elder Scrolls 4, this game was an absolute beast in the graphics department and the everything department at the time. And sure, it had the Bethesda jank, but nobody cared about it yet because it was such a massive game to play. And just going through, and I got the big strategy guide. Strategy guides are still a big thing back then, and just going through this massive novel sized strategy guide and seeing all the different builds that I can make, and just going through reading what all the different advantages of each race and class were, and just absolutely new. At the time, I didn't have a social life, so I mean, I poured every waking. I don't think I touched Gears of War for months after I got my Xbox because I was just always wanted to play Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. And honestly, thank God that this game did not come out on the Steam Deck generation, where and the Xbox Series and the PS5, because I mean, you had to come to stopping points in Oblivion before you turn it off. If I could have put the game into rest mode, I would have never gotten anything done because I would have just always kept it going all the time. Uh, there were just so many different storylines to play through. There were, the Daedra and the portals to Oblivion were so cool. And then I remember when the DLC came out, I was going out to cut yards just to get because at the time you couldn't just buy things; you had to buy Microsoft points. So I would go cut grass so I could get Microsoft points so that I could download these expansions, and just what a time to be alive. I mean, yeah, Knights of the Nine, which I remember watching videos on G4 about different tips for all of these expansions, and then Shivering Isles came out, and it was just such a an incredible run of DLC. And people make fun of the horse armor, but even the horse armor was still cool. And I don't remember how much the horse armor is, but like you just look back at the horse armor by today's DLC standards, where the same thing, like horse armor now would cost like $20 at least, and I think horse armor back then maybe cost like $2, and we were all up in well, other people were up in arms. I didn't care, uh, but even going beyond that, I remember getting Oblivion on PC because I love the game so much that when I got my first gaming PC, I bought Oblivion just so I could replay the game again and go through and get all the mods and stuff like that. And then, going from Oblivion into my Gears of War, the game that started it all off. I mean, this game, just looking back, there was nothing like it at the time. There is a third person shooter. I had never played a third person shooter at this point either, by the way. Uh, so going like I'll never forget that I played like the first level multiple times because I thought the game was too hard, and I was just kind of giving up on it, and I was an idiot. I wasn't paying attention to what I was supposed to be doing, and eventually I figured out that you're supposed to aim with the left trigger. So I was just blind firing and like, man, this game sucks. And once I got past that, I was inviting friends over and we were playing split screen because Gears of War's always had split screen, and just going through this incredible third person shooter and it having so many different moments where it was like the water cooler moments where like you remember like the Krill level and the Berserker boss fights, and Gears of War went on to have like a really big life on the Xbox 360. Like almost all of the games except for 4 and 5 were on the and Tactics, of course, were all on the Xbox 360. You had Gears 1 through 3, and you had Judgment. Gears of War 2 was actually the first. No, 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 no. Halo 3 was my first midnight release. I convinced my mom to take me. Because again, I was in 8th grade. But Gears of War 2, I want to say that I was in high school, but I must have been a freshman because I couldn't drive myself. And I remember going to the midnight release for Gears 2, being so excited. And at the time, midnight releases were different. I mean, midnight releases are just non-existent nowadays. If you want, like, they're even digital games when you're supposed to, buy them, and then at midnight you're supposed to be able to play the game, but that's not even a thing anymore. Now you gotta wait till like noon the next day before you can play the game. But that's neither here nor there. But So I went to the midnight release. I got home, and this is a novel concept, but I put the game in and it was ready to play. Like nowadays, you go and you buy a physical game, and unless it's on the Switch, you're gonna put the disc into your PlayStation or your Xbox, and then you're gonna have to install it. But in Gears of War 2 times, you just put in the game and it was ready to play. It was incredible. And so we go to the midnight release. I get the game. I get home at maybe I didn't live too far away from GameStop at the time, so I probably got home at around, let's just say, 12:30. And I put the game in, and my parents were like, "Well, we took you to midnight release, but you can't play it until you get home from school tomorrow." And I was like, "Okay, I won't play it." And then as soon as they went to bed, well, my dad was already in bed. But as soon as my mom went to bed, I played the first mission, the hospital level, but I plugged in some headphones that I had, and I kept one ear uncovered, so I would hear them as they started come down the hall. And just the experience, like just the absolute experience of having a game and picking it up at as soon as it's available and playing it in the middle of the night, uh, just unreal. The experience of that, and then also uh, going through Gears of War 2's campaign, one of the most heartbreaking moments about halfway through the game, and to this day, the Gears franchise has not beat it emotions wise. And there's a scene in Gears 3 that people would argue is sadder, but I definitely think that the Gears 2 twist is way sadder than Gears 3. And I didn't have any people playing multiplayer with me for Gears 2, but then Gears 3, that's when I did have a very, large group of friends, and we were playing online co-op and even still doing split screen. And I'll never forget, there was one time when Gears 3 came, Gears 3 was different because it had, I think it was called Beast Mode, where you could play as like the different locusts, and it was kind of like a multiplayer. I think maybe like one team was playing as the like the cog soldiers, and then there was another team that was playing as the locust, and it was really cool because you could like control berserkers and stuff. And I just remember one day, me and a bunch of friends, we went to this one guy's house, and they had a game room. Well, it was kind of just like a actual, like it was like a big. It's, I guess you would call it a pool room because it was like the room that like led out into their swimming pool, but they had converted it into a game room, and we just had a bunch of TVs set up everywhere, and there was just like 8 Xboxes all running Gears of War 3, and we were all playing, and it was just a fantastic time. And we're gonna talk about it a lot as we go, but I mean, playing multiplayer was still not a easy thing to do because if you were like me and your router was on the other side of the house from your room, there was no way to play online unless you had a wired connection, or if you had $100 to blow on a wireless adapter. Because at the time, the original OG Xbox 360s did not have the wireless built in. You had to buy an adapter that was an obscene amount of money. And Gears Judgment being like people didn't like it as much, but I mean, we still played a lot of multiplayer. But I think the most social of the Gears franchise for me was Gears 3 because we were always playing multiplayer. We were always playing the Horde mode, and it was just a different time of gaming. And there's only two other franchises that ever got close to that, and Halo was one of them. So on the 360s time, you had Halo 3, ODST, and Reach, and 4. There was also Halo Wars, the original Halo Wars, but I was the only person that I knew that played that one. Uh, but yeah, Halo 3, that was the first midnight release that I had ever gone to. And again, you want to talk about midnight releases rapidly declining, around the time where the digital age came about. But even the Gears 2 midnight release was so much different than the Halo 3 release. The Gears of War 2 midnight release, we showed up to the GameStop and we got, you know, by the door, and there was maybe like 5 other people, right? And we just kind of waited. And then at midnight, they opened the doors, we bought the game, we left. For Halo 3, it was absolute uncontrolled chaos. The GameStop parking lot, which it was like in a shopping center, and I mean, just imagine a parking lot big enough to host enough customers for like 8 stores in the shopping center. Okay, it was completely filled at midnight and people had brought kegs out there. There were barbecue pits. People were cooking. They had been there since like 5 in the afternoon, and it was just this massive party. And it's one of those things that I really and truly wish that I had been born like 15 years earlier. That way that I could have been drinking age, and I would, had, had got the opportunity to get like a group of friends to go out and have this big event, because the Halo 3 midnight release was absolute insane chaos. And by the time, like, it wasn't a Gears of War 2 situation, because once we got, by the time we got through the line and got home, it was maybe close to 2 a.m. And then I had to get up like 4 hours after that to get ready to go to school. So I just remember getting home after that day of school and just marathoning Halo 3, playing it as much as I could. And I want to say that it came out on Friday, maybe. I have to double check. But you have to understand the amount of dedication that I had to Halo 3, because it's probably, it was my most anticipated Halo, because I had played Halo 1 on that green Xbox, then I got Halo 2, and me and a friend, we played through Halo 2, and we get to the end of the game, and it's the cliffhanger that everybody knows at this point, where when the game was over, we both just kind of stared at the screen for like a long time. Like, that can't be it. We couldn't believe that the cliffhanger was that, sudden. So we finally get to Halo 3, and the reviews actually, I remember this very vividly. The review embargo for Halo 3 lifted like 2 to 3 weeks before the game actually came out. So I was so excited for this game that I was like, I had a playlist of videos where I would watch the GameSpot review, then I would watch the IGN review, then I would watch the G4 review. And like, I would just do that every few days just so I could see the gameplay again, because it was such an insane graphical leap from 2 to 3. Then the summer before the game comes out, you had the multiplayer beta, which you had to go buy Crackdown, which is the only reason people bought Crackdown, was to get access to the beta. And that was another thing. The 360 had Crackdown, which a game nobody wanted, and then we tried it for the Halo 3 beta, and we're like, this game is awesome, and everybody played the crap out of Crackdown. But that's neither here nor there. So getting into the multiplayer, like for the beta, I remember begging, like on days that I didn't have school, I would beg my parents, like, just please let me go to work with you guys, because there was like an old TV that they had put it in my mom's office, that way that I could plug in my Xbox and like watch shows and stuff. That, like, because again, this was before the days of Netflix. They had like gave me Microsoft points, and I had bought a bunch of episodes of TV shows and put them on my Xbox. So like, I would plug in my Xbox to watch shows and stuff, and I just remember that was the only way for me to play online, was to go up there so I could plug in, because the router was directly behind this TV, so I could plug in my Xbox and I could go online. And I would, like, obviously, like, during the multiplayer beta, that all I was doing was playing the beta and like playing round after round after round after round. But when the game came out, I was so unbelievably hyped for Halo 3. If I'm right, and this game came out when I think that it did, I marathoned Halo 3, and I want to say that I beat it in like a day and a half, which for at the time, that was a big deal, because my parents were very anti-gaming, so they never really let me sit for too long and play video games. Like, they always were like, "Well, come help me with the yard." And getting to that point where I just marathoned the campaign, and then it was just me trying to find ways to play online. I want to say one time I brought my 360 into like I asked my parents, is like, can I please just set up a TV in the computer room so that I can plug it in? And they kept telling me no. But what I would end up doing is I would go to work with my parents every chance I got, and I would just stop playing the campaign and I would just play multiplayer for hours on end. And it would get to the point where I would ask, "Can I just spend the night at your office? Nobody's gonna care. This is your building," and they wouldn't let me do it. Uh, but I'm pretty sure that eventually I must have found a way to buy the wireless adapter because I did end up getting a connection at home and going into ODST and Reach. Like those were the other two Halos that came out while I was still in high school. And ODST was just a really good campaign. Uh, and but then Halo Reach coming out, that game just had a completely revamped multiplayer, and me and my friends played it so much. And we had this inside thing between all of us where we liked to go into the infected game modes, and we would just betray our teammates, and we would use our shotgun, and there was one map, I can't remember what the name of it was, but you could go into a an AC vent, and it was like if you were trying to kill somebody in that vent, it was very difficult to get to you because they had to run in a straight line, and there was no way to get like behind you, so you could just sit there and camp, and they would have to like literally all charge in at once just to get a chance of getting to you, and it was like not even counting all the custom game modes you could have, and then going even further, past into the college days, you have the Halo 4, which was a fantastic campaign, a good Master Chief and Cortana story. I know a lot of people don't like Halo 4. I loved Halo 4, and I have this really fond memory of talking to one of my friends. He's like, "Yeah, come over, we're gonna play Halo," and I took my Xbox over to his house and I get all set up, and then he's like, "Oh, I've got to go into work." He had to he was like a chaperone for a camp, a summer school camp or something like that. So he's like, "Yeah, I got to go," and I was like, "Well, do you mind if I just stay here and play Halo?" So I stayed there and I started playing Halo 4 and just lost track of time. He didn't get back until like 4, 5 a.m. and I was still playing Halo. Mind you, I got there at like 9:30 p.m. Uh, just to talk about how special those Halo games were. And going further into the multiplayer space, but back to Halo 3, there was only one game whose multiplayer really took me away from Halo 3, and that was Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Uh, you want to talk about a game that just kind of didn't necessarily come out of nowhere, but when they revealed it, people were like, "Yeah, this looks good," and people were really excited for it. And then when it came out, it blew the gaming world to pieces. And you know, so many Call of Duty games were on the 360. I have them wrote down here. We had the Modern Warfare trilogy. Modern Warfare 1, 2, and 3. You had World at War. You had Black Ops 1 and 2, and then you had uh, shoot, what was the other one? Yeah, it was those. Okay. And first off, Call of Duty 4. I actually replayed the entire Modern Warfare trilogy recently. The 4, 5, and 6. I guess you'd call it. Uh, those games still hold up. The campaigns are still phenomenal, but it's worth noting how revolutionary the multiplayer for these games were, and it Call of Duty, like that era of Call of Duty from 4 up until I think where people started to get disenchanted with the franchise was Black Ops 2. But I remember every time a Call of Duty came out, the world blew up. And I remember specifically not having enough money for Call of Duty. I think it was Modern Warfare 3 when it came out. So I bought it on Black Friday. That sounds right, but I don't know for sure. And I just remember going on a date, it not going well. And I called a friend. I was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And he didn't have any plans. So I went and picked him up. We went back to my house, and we just played Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. And it was another social touchstone for me and my friend group. Uh, Modern Warfare 3 was just an innovation. Well, all the Call of Duties. Like, I mean, it's cool to hate on Call of Duty now, even though I don't care what you say. Modern Warfare 3, like the modern one that came out in 2023, that game is good. Like, I don't know where all these negative reviews are coming from. I don't know if it's just because the Call of Duty fatigue is real, but I mean, the game is great. Uh, that being said, at the time, those games were phenomenal. The campaigns were great. Uh, even World at War, which is like widely forgotten uh, by modern standards, but all those other games were so good, and the multiplayer were so good. Uh, and I think that the only thing that really beats I've got like a few like more games to talk about here. Uh, I mean, you look at Minecraft, which was the thing that came out when I was in college. Uh, like I had a friend in high school that he was always talking like when he was playing Minecraft on PC, and he was always talking about, yeah, I'm playing this game. It's called Minecraft, and it's on PC. And he was always telling me about the insane things he was doing in this game. I was like, that's cool. But I remember walking into my biology class in college and hearing somebody say, "Oh yeah, Minecraft's on Xbox now." So I went home. I bought it on my Xbox 360, and it was just a different like that game on the Xbox 360 was such a social phenomenon because even going in like to the Xbox One version, me and my friend group were all playing Minecraft. We were all going into creative mode to see what we could make, and we were going making our own worlds where we went in and we would make our own little village and we'd go on adventures in the world. I remember like just two memories that stick out very vividly in my mind. I had a friend who completely one to one rebuilt Titan Tower in Minecraft, and he invited me into his world and he showed me everything, and it was just stunning. And like another memory I have is in college on Friday nights, I would go home after I was done with classes, and me and my friend we would get on Minecraft and just I like on Fridays I would probably get home from college at like 3 or 4, and we would play Minecraft until we went to bed. I mean, we would have projects like we would do creative mode projects where we would. There was one time where we built a massive zoo. I want to say we made this giant enclosure made out of obsidian, this giant tower. We built the tower up to the build limit, and going back in and making different enclosures with all the different mobs. Like there was, the peaceful mobs like the cows and the sheep, and then there was zombies and skeletons and creepers, and just insane, multifaceted projects. Uh, but going back a little bit further, you had games like Rock Band and Guitar Hero, and that getting Rock Band, I think it was Rock Band 2 or Rock Band 3, there was a peripheral. Like I'd gotten the entire band kit for Christmas one year, and there was also this peripheral called the Stage Kit, where it came with a fog machine with a strobe light, and then also came with an LED light that changed colors to go with the songs that you were playing. And me and my friends, we would just set up in my game room that I had at my parents' house, and we would just play songs for hours. And like even my friend that hated, hated video games, even he liked to come over and have a good time and listen to the music and just hang out. Whoever wasn't playing, like we'd have four people playing at a time, and then like everybody else was just kind of hanging out and talking, and it was just like a good time. Uh, and then going even further, like the Rockstar games, GTA 4, GTA 5, Red Dead Redemption, the multiplayer, like GTA 4 was just as big of a phenomenon as Halo 3 and Call of Duty 4 was. Uh, I mean, not only were the single player worlds just massive, but the multiplayer in these games was insane. And GT Online started on the 360. That's insane to think about, but it did. And just to kind of put a bow on this, because these are games that I did play, but I don't think that they were as important to talk about as the rest of the games I talked about. And I'm kind of running out of time here. But I mean, just looking at the other game, I mean, Skyrim that was on the 360. The Orange Box, which was an insane value at the time. You had Half Life 2, Episode 1, Episode 2, Portal, and Team Fortress 2 for the price of one game. It was absolutely insane. Bioshock 1, 2, and Infinite. Batman Arkham Asylum, Batman Arkham City, Arkham Origins was also on there, but I don't think Arkham Knight was. Fallout 3 and New Vegas. Those were both on there. Mass Effect trilogy, Assassin's Creed, all the way up to Black Flag, Alan Wake, the South Park duology with Stick of Truth and the Fractured Butthole, Left 4 Dead 1 and 2, Army of Two, Kane and Lynch, Kingdom for Kefling, Shadow Complex, Steel Arms, uh, what's some more? Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, uh, just I mean, we could sit here and go on and on about how many of the most influential games I can think of were on the Xbox 360. And just for me, like I would 100% argue that the 360 was the best console that I've ever owned. Uh, it did have its problems, but all my friends were on Xbox, and all the games that I wanted to play were on Xbox, with rare except every Ultimate Ninja Storm game except for the first one that was on Xbox. Uh, per, bu- 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 I'm blanking on what I was gonna say, but so in the future, what I'm thinking about doing here, uh, sorry, I thought I was getting a call. Sorry. Uh, so yeah, all this to say that the Xbox 360 is an extremely special console to me. It always will be. And I hope that everybody that remembers the Xbox 360 can look back at it with the reverence that it deserves. And I'm thinking about doing this with other consoles and other handhelds. So I'm looking into the logistics of it. Uh, but yeah, keep your eyes out for more episodes. And thanks for listening, everybody. And I will see you next time.